Hey, welcome back. All right, today we are digging into Peruvian maca. You've probably seen this superfood powder just about everywhere, and it's got this legendary reputation for boosting energy and libido. But the real story of how it works? It's way more complex, and honestly, a whole lot more fascinating than you'd probably guess. It's a story that involves a bit of colonial history, a surprising scientific mystery, and a secret that's been hiding in plain sight all along. All right, so let's jump right in. To really get a handle on maca's modern hype, we've got to travel back in time, way, way up into the Andes Mountains, where this incredibly tough little plant has been growing for more than 2,000 years. So, picture this. It's the 16th century. Spanish colonists are up in the Andes. We're talking over 4,000 meters above sea level. The air is thin, the conditions are absolutely brutal, and they've got a huge problem. Their livestock, the horses and cattle they brought with them, are really struggling. More specifically, they just aren't reproducing. And this was shaping up to be a total economic disaster. So pretty desperate, right? They turned to the indigenous Andean people who'd been farming this land for centuries. And the locals gave them a tip. Try feeding the animals this tough little root vegetable that they themselves used for energy and vitality. And that root, you guessed it, it was maca. And get this, the effect was so powerful, it literally changed the local economy. The livestock's fertility bounced back so dramatically that maca basically became a form of currency. We're talking colonial records from the time demanding 9 tons of maca as payment from just one single Andean region. 9 tons! And that's how the legend of maca as this powerful fertility booster was born. So that's the legend. Now fast forward to today, and that reputation has definitely stuck. But that legend has also led to this massive assumption about how this amazing root actually gets the job done. Which, of course, brings us to the question on everyone's mind. If it's boosting libido and fertility, it's got to be jacking up testosterone or other sex hormones, right? I mean, that's the logical explanation. But is it the right one? Okay, and this is where the story gets really, really interesting. So the common belief is pretty simple, right? More libido must mean more testosterone. But here's the kicker. Study after study, actual human clinical trials, have completely blown that idea out of the water. They've shown that maca definitely increases sexual desire, but, and this is a huge but, it does it without changing testosterone levels or any other major sex hormones. So we've got a real effect, but the explanation is just wrong. Which leaves us with this incredible mystery. If it's not the hormones, what on earth is going on with this root? So, how in the world do we solve this thing? Well, the answer is hiding in a detail that for years most people just completely overlooked, a detail that really changes everything we thought we knew. This sentence right here, it's the key. It unlocks the whole puzzle. See, when we say maca, we're actually making a huge oversimplification. We're not really talking about just one single thing. The sciencey term for this is ecotypes. The easiest way to think about it is like different breeds of dog. A Chihuahua and a Great Dane are both dogs, but they are very different. Well, maca has these ecotypes that you can tell apart by their color. And the crucial part is these different colors have totally different chemical makeups and, you guessed it, different effects on the body. Now, there are a few different colors, but the research really zeroes in on 3 main ones: black maca, red maca, and the most common one, yellow maca. And this is so important. Treating them all like they're the same thing is exactly why the science has been so confusing for so long. Okay, so if they're not all the same, what do they do? Well, this is where it gets really specific. It looks like each color has its own special assignment, its own unique job to do. This table really lays it all out. The color coding is everything. Now, a lot of this comes from preclinical studies, and they suggest these things are super specialized. You see, black maca is linked to things like sperm production and memory. Red maca seems to be all about prostate health and bone density. And then there's yellow maca, the most common type, which shows some promise for protecting skin. Look, you don't have to memorize all of this. The big takeaway is that asking, what does maca do, is the wrong question. The right question is, what does black, or red, or yellow maca do? Okay, so you've heard me say preclinical and animal studies a few times now, and there's a really important reason for that. Before you go all in on a specific color, we got to be really honest and clear-eyed about where the science actually stands right now. And when you look at the research, the reality is pretty stark. On one hand, you've got this huge, exciting pile of preclinical research from labs and animal studies. The potential there seems enormous. But then you look for the gold standard, big, high-quality human trials, and that number just plummets. There's a massive gap between the promise we see in the lab and the solid proof we need from human studies. So what gives? Why the big gap? Well, a lot of the human studies we do have come with some big limitations. Many of them have really small groups of people, or they only last for a few weeks. And this is the big one. A lot of the older studies didn't even say which color of maca they were using, or they just threw them all in a mix, which now we know is going to give you some messy results. Now, this doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means the solid human proof is still playing catch-up with all that early promise. Okay, so let's put this all together. How should we think about maca in a smart, evidence-based way? What's the real takeaway here? It really comes down to 4 key things to remember. Number 1, ditch the hormone myth. We know the libido boost isn't about that. Number 2, color is key. Think about what your health goal is and look for the specific color that lines up with it. 3, know where the evidence stands. A lot of this is super exciting, but it's still early days for the research. And number 4, and this is the most important one, talk to your doctor or a healthcare provider before starting any new supplement. And all of this leaves us with a much bigger question. The story of maca, of figuring out that this one superfood is actually a whole family of specialized tools, it might just be a glimpse of where nutrition is headed. Are we on the verge of a new era? One where we move past just generic advice and start using specific, targeted, even color-coded plants for our own unique health goals? It's a pretty amazing thought, isn't it? Thanks for tuning in.